excellent speakers this morning to talk to you about something that you a little bit different to some of the other filmy events that we've been talking about this festival. So this is hashtag winning on the web with your cinema, and I'd like to just introduce our lovely host, Shanie Ryan.
Hello, welcome everyone. Right, so welcome to Winning on the Web. I'm your host, Shanie Ryan. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Today's event is all about three creatives who have used their online content to create a wonderful platform for themselves and their career. Unfortunately, Marv Brown couldn't join us, but we've still got three wonderful people joining us today. We've got award-winning Adjani Salmon. He's the writer and producer and lead actor for Dreaming Whilst Black. Give him a big round of applause, and up you come, my lovely. Do you want to come on up? Yeah. Just take a seat for me in the first seat or second seat. We've also got Lola, is it Jagun? Yay, I've pronounced it right. She is one of the funniest women on social media and on the web as well. And her work online has actually led for her writing for the BBC as well. And last but not least, we have Amani Simpson, who hit the jackpot with his first production, and his film gained over 1 million views in just 4 days. So we're going to be talking to him as well. Come on up.
Am I there?
She moves down.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, let me know if you've got any problems listening in. Okay, so we're going to get started. Thank you all for joining us. Obviously, this is Winning on the Web, and you guys have almost definitely won when it comes to the web. So what we're going to do today is try and get a real feel for what you can do in your own careers and what these guys have done to create their online platforms. So I'm actually going to kind of ask all of you different individual questions, and you can always jump in if there's anything that's relevant to you as well. Adjani, your background is traditionally film and TV, right?
Yeah.
What made you go, you know what, I'm going to create an online series, and this is the direction that I'm going to go in? What was the inspiration to
I feel like, I feel like that at the time I used to make short films, and at school you get taught short film, get into festivals. At festivals you might be seen by an agent, you might break into the industry that way. And I think my grad film did really well on the festival circuit, but at the time like nothing changed. So I was like, okay, cool, I have an Oscar qualifying film, but nobody cares. And at the same time, I kind of saw, so there's like, obviously, Issa Rae did Awkward Black Girl, and that came out. And then even Cecile Emeke did Aki and Sawfish, and that blew up. And there was a web series called Brown Girls, which got picked up by HBO as well in America. So I was thinking, well, I'm here. Even Coyote, Hood documentaries, YouTube, and now then he's on BBC. So I was thinking, well, I'm here begging the gatekeepers to let me in, when these people did something online and the gatekeepers went to them. So I was just like, cool, let me try do my thing and see if they'll come to me.
And it worked.
It did.
That's brilliant. Lola, your sketches are hilarious. I was having a little look online last night, and definitely related to checking your makeup in natural light. You have me giggling. So loving that, by the way. Tell me, how did you get started in online and kind of using your socials to promote yourself as an actress and writer?
Well, initially I started creating content because I actually wanted to learn how to edit. I've always been a lover of film, and whenever I watched a film, I'm like, oh my God, look at the way that panned. Oh my God, look at that zoom and stuff like that. So I kind of wanted to, it was more curiosity that made me start creating content. So I bought like a secondhand camera from Amazon, and then I was saving up to buy a secondhand Apple MacBook. And then in that time, I was thinking, okay, I've got a camera, I'm going to get a MacBook, how do I edit? So I just started watching loads of editing videos on YouTube. So when I finally got my laptop, I was like, okay, I've got a camera, I've got a laptop, I've got editing software, now I need footage. And then I just thought, okay, let me just film myself because there was no one around me that I could film. Everyone had different schedules and whatever. So I just started like wearing different wigs and then being different characters in my sketches and stuff. And then I put it up with no major intentions, to be honest. It was just like my friends who were on my page. I didn't have any kind of, I didn't think my page would have grown to the way it's grown now, but everyone seemed to enjoy it. And then it just kind of grew and grew and grew. Then I just started kind of like writing a bit more. Then I got an editor because before I was writing on like pen and paper, like so I don't forget my lines and stuff. And then I think my friend one time was like, Lola, you know there is actually like a proper way to write. You can just download like Celtex or you can just download like Final Draft. I was like, oh really, what's that? So then I downloaded that and then I just started kind of like researching more about writing and film and comedy. And then yeah, here I am. Yeah.
Amani, so traditionally you're a businessman and you also work with children, right? You recently turned producer in creation of a film almost about yourself, really, hence the title. What inspired you to go from the business world to producing a film?
Definitely the need. So I remember there was a story, I literally drove down the motorway to get to my office one morning at 9 a.m, kind of suited and booted, going through traffic, pulled up the shutter and kind of sat there with my morning tea and I was just like, this is long. I've just woken up at 6:30 to make everyone else think that I'm busy and I'm not really impacting anybody. I was working in property, so it was great for money, but it wasn't really giving me anything to kind of feel empowered and impactful with. So just really started to think about how I could impact young people and met Javan in a random kind of scenario and just started talking about making a film and kind of getting to know him, and the opportunity just kind of presented and we just had to make sure it was a masterpiece because you only get really one shot to make a film. So yeah.
For those who don't know, we're talking about Javan Wade, who is in the Purge movie and is just doing amazing things right now.
Doom Patrol,
Shara's Story, all of those amazing,
Man on the Wall.
Man on the Wall, all those amazing online content platforms. So that's who you work with on this. How did you manage to get Javan involved?
So basically, I met him after meeting a friend of mine, Cass. We were sitting in his office and we went out for lunch, and then when I came back I met Javan and Purcell Ascot as we were walking up the stairs and started talking and kind of started to build a relationship just before he did The Purge. So while he was out there and kind of doing the auditions and everything, we were having phone conversations, and yeah, it was just a brotherhood that built kind of from scratch. And then one day we were sitting at breakfast and he was just like, I'm looking for a film about faith. Like, I want to get something where someone's struggling and they're kind of on a journey. Do you know anyone with a story like that? And it was like all the spotlights kind of like shine down on you on the table. And I was just like, that's your moment. And I just told him and he was just like, yeah, I want to make that into a film. And I thought it was just going to be a kind of, someone said it and that there's not really going to be any kind of end result. But then he said, write down what happened. And he came back and wrote the spoken word and then was just like, look, we're going to kind of move forward with this and put some fire under it. So yeah,
so
that's how we got there.
All meant to be.
It was meant to be.
Because there's a lot of people out there with ideas, but they don't necessarily know how to get their projects made. When you started speaking to Javan about that project, did you think it was going to become this big thing? Did he guide you through, or did you have very much your own
drive
towards getting it
I've
made?
never made a film before, as you said. So I was in the hands of masters, I guess is the best way to put it. When you look at what Javan and Percy have done for the UK movie and comedy scene in general, they've just set levels. And I think one of the things that I learned from working with them was just like things that you mentioned, like Celtex and just I never knew that. I was just, let's just get a camera and make a film, and they kind of showed you all the intricacies. So working with them was amazing because it was just exactly what I needed. I was in apprentice mode. I don't know how to make a film other than to work with guys that know how to make a film. I'm one of those people. You got to work with the masters in order to get it right. No point in just trying to make it happen.
You've learnt a lot.
I want to make another one. That's what I want
there
to do.
There we go. Adjani, what's happened for your career since the series went kind of viral?
No, we're not viral. We're not viral.
It's done well.
We've just done decent.
It's done very well. It's very impressive.
Thank you.
What's happened for your career since then?
So I guess since then, again, the whole idea when I made it. So since then, I guess I'm signed to United Agents now.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm repped by CAA in LA as well.
Yes.
That's cool.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we're currently in conversation to get Dreaming West Black and another comedy idea on TV.
Wow.
So yeah.
It's amazing. Did you find the success with the agent just kind of landed on your doorstep?
It did.
You did?
It
Okay,
did.
yeah,
No. It literally, no, but it's funny because someone was saying, yo, like, I think some friends of mine, so, like, Kobe got signed, and he was like, yo, I'll go and get signed. And I was like, boy, I don't know, like, you know. And I was thinking, oh, you know, who should I email? Or I'm getting emails of agents who I'm thinking maybe I can email them. And literally, I just got an email saying, yo, I watch your show. I want to have a meeting. And I was like, oh. Yeah.
Found your agent. Lola, since releasing your first web series, you've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, right?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what you're up to and what's happened.
So again, I had like a little mini web series. I call it a mini one. Called Good Luck, and I did that about 2 years ago. Again, it was just more for practice, like practicing how to edit, practice how to write a little bit longer than a minute, what Instagram allows right now. So since then, I've done some work with the BBC. Just by literally uploading videos online. I've had a few of my sketches commissioned by them as well, and I've been in like a few writing rooms on other projects. So we just shot a comedy pilot last year for international audience with the BBC as well, and I got to write and perform in that sketch as well. So there is there's power online, there's power in being proactive and actually getting up and doing something. I'm not represented. I don't have an agent yet. And you know, some of the conversations that I tend to have with people who go down more of a traditional form of things, and like maybe go to drama school and maybe like go to acting school, it's like, oh, I have an agent. Who's your agent? And I think when I first started out, I didn't really have much confidence in saying what I do around other professional actors.
Right.
I just kind of didn't really I didn't really see the power of online and having your own platform.
Did you have imposter syndrome?
Maybe.
We'll get that
Yeah, exactly.
Go a different route into your career.
Yes. So like now that I've kind of like created my own platform and I've got like industry opportunities and stuff, it just made me feel a bit more confident that actually I may not have gone down the route as everyone else, but I'm still credible and I'm still proud of all the achievements that I've achieved. So,
do you think you're going to go knocking on that agent door soon? Writing some emails.
I'm hoping that the emails land. And
Yeah.
I have. You know what it is? I actually have had a few conversations with some agencies, and I think I'm okay. Thank you. I think there's like this new age of us creative, especially when we use social media, and some agents don't really know what to do with us yet. You know, we're comedians, we write, we do our own stuff. Are you stand up? Da, 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 da. So some of the conversations I've had, it's just more of like trying to find the right agency for me, so I can, you know, maybe write, I can maybe direct, I can da da da. Because when you create your own content, you're essentially all of these people in one. So I think I'm just waiting to kind of find the right home for myself and my talents.
Do you think that's the case with all three of you? Is that you're going to find yourself kind of being pulled into several different hats, if you know what I mean? So sometimes directing, sometimes producing. Can you see yourself acting at any point?
Well, I made a little cameo in the film. I
Yeah,
didn't
see?
say anything, but who knows?
Yeah, but it's like online just allows you to try on so many different
100%.
roles,
Yeah, it
right?
does, doesn't it? Yeah.
What is each of your favourite roles within your experiences so far?
So I'm a director who wrote because I guess I still write because no one's given me a script.
Yeah.
Like, you know. So I write because I want to direct, and I acted because I wanted a show and couldn't afford actors. So I was like, cool, £5 go acting classes every week. Bang.
Yeah.
But I do prefer directing first.
That's your love.
That's my thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, I think I enjoy performing, but I also enjoy post-production. So the editing and the kind of, that I would say that's more my favorite, and the filming part.
Isn't it mad that the online platform has allowed you to discover all these other talents from the first thing that you were interested in. You were interested in the edit, and then all of a sudden it's like you can do all these characters and these voices, and you're a great actress, and you're kind of directing your own things as well.
Yeah.
And what about for yourself?
So I would love to produce more films. I think one of the things I've learned in life is that there's certain things that when you're good at it, just kind of stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Like, I can't play football, but I'd love to manage a football team. That's the one. So I'd love to kind of just bring more ideas to life and help other people just as I go along, kind of teach them what I've learned. And
And that's kind of a good point to get onto, is teaching, because your film was to communicate a message and to teach young people, I guess, some life lessons. So what successes have you seen from your film being released, apart from the millions of views that it got? How many views?
1.5 right now.
Hey, 1.5 million. And how long's it been out now?
Just over a month.
There we go. So have you experienced any other successes other than the views, in terms of feedback from your film?
It's been a little bit surreal, to be honest. So I'm walking down the street and someone's like, "Oh, you're Amani," and I'm just I'm not really used to that yet.
Yeah.
And also just different events that I've been asked to speak at. So speaking at We Day in a couple of weeks, which is like 20,000 people at Wembley Arena.
Wow.
And being called to speak at, like,
Yeah.
here. You know, for me, like, these are, as you mentioned, first and foremost, I'm an entrepreneur. And so to be sharing the stage with people that, you know, I've watched for a good couple of years, or have heard of at least, you know, it's an honor to sit here, and I'm still in apprentice mode. So, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say I know it all. You know, we've done a great first film, but I'm all about consistency. I've got to keep doing film, series, content, and learning. You know, that's the stage that I'm at right now.
Okay. So with yourself, Lola, and yourself, Adjani, you guys are specifically carving out careers in the industry, like I said, that have got kind of a full scope of opportunity. Because you never know, you might be, I know you want to be a director, you might be cast as the lead in something.
Who knows? Who knows?
Do you find yourself tailoring your ideas moving forward for views, because that's done so well for you? You've both got views, you've both seen this online digital success. So does that change your creative progress to kind of like, that's going to get views, clickbait, that kind of thing? Or
Go for it.
I would say no, because I think now I've got my audience and stuff. They enter like this reality with my characters I play. It's like my world and stuff. And the way that I write my content, it's kind of, you follow this journey of Lola, who I play myself, but you follow her journey. So it's not everything that happens in her life that may be relatable to everyone, but it's just more of like, the art of it is just how it's entertaining. So even though you may not have ever experienced that, you can still laugh at it, or you can still enjoy the content. And I think that's more like what I like to do, to entertain, you know, to put a smile on someone's face, whether or not you can relate to whatever has happened or not. So I wouldn't necessarily do things for views. I haven't really changed anything for views. If anything, I'd like to like collaborate more with people and, you know, get a different perspective on, you know, other people's stories and stuff. And I think organically that would then pull in more people, but it's not something that I'm like, oh, this only got 100k views, this is trash. No. I don't gauge my content and the value of it based on the views.
do you get a lot of people asking to collaborate with you?
I do. I think you can't say yes to everyone, and I think that a lot of the time when you just see some form of content, if you don't understand all the back process, you can automatically think that I just get these ideas like this, it just falls from the sky. There are certain things that I'm looking for in the person, you know, like work ethic, you know, what else could you bring? You know, it has to kind of like make sense. So just because you want to, it doesn't necessarily mean that it could be fitting to the narrative as well. So a no may not be because I don't think you're great, it just may not be right now, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I feel like if I don't feel like it's good, I'm not going to do it. And I don't know, I guess I have some may say arrogance of thinking, well, I think what I think is good, everybody going to think is good. because it's my thing. Like, so but I feel like you can't tailor yourself if it's not deeply rooted in myself or whoever is making the content. I feel like that's where you see the disconnect. Like, I feel like I don't know. Well, I guess you can't go viral by trying to cater to the market, but I feel like to be authentic and to last, I feel like that's the key.
Longevity.
Yeah, if you want to last, it's important that you kind of make stuff that true to you, and then your fans are yours.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They're not here because you did that one thing that was trending.
Yes.
And then as soon as, like, if you can't catch the next trend, then they're
leave.
gone. Whereas the kind of following or the kind of people who tune into our content, tune in because of what we've made.
Yes.
So therefore I can make anything because they're here for what I come up with, not for what trend I've tapped into.
Yeah.
Back to collaboration, because obviously with you collaborating with Javan, his online platform is huge, and the Shiro story success, he's now got this reputation that if he does something online, it's almost guaranteed to be awesome. So collaborating with him has obviously helped with getting your story out there.
100%. It's crazy because I was in the room with Javan when he found out about Shiro's story. And the kind of backstory about it is that when Ratman had asked him, he didn't really know about Shiro's story. So he was doing his research, and I remember him saying, like, Ratman's asked me about this Shiro thing. And I remember hearing it in a mixtape and saying, that's amazing, like, you've got to do it. And alongside other people that were saying it as well, kind of seeing what's happened in the last kind of the year, we started talking about the film just before he did all of that. So we didn't realize that, that was almost setting up to make, when the Amani film came out, it was going to blow up as much, because if we maybe put out before, maybe it wouldn't have got as many views at the time, but it was just a perfect platform. And then on top of it, he's out doing things with, DC is a superhero. It's just all of those things have just added to, the success. And then I was doing a lot of work on the ground, so I was going to loads of events, I was networking, I was with the BBC, ITV, really kind of putting in the groundwork, because I couldn't also rely on the fact that just because he was a celebrity and he had the status, I still have to bring value to the table. So yeah, it was a great collaboration between the two of us.
I always find that when you're looking at either YouTubers or Instagram stars, that there seems to be a certain level of people that work together in terms of, if you're going to collab with someone, you collab with somebody on your level with bigger numbers than you, and that. You were saying about being selective and about it making sense. Do you think that it doesn't make sense to work with more up-and-coming people? Do you tend to kind of stay in the same lane as people that, are getting as many views as you? Or, is that the kind of collaboration criteria, so to speak?
Not necessarily. Like, recently, I collaborated with my friend, or now she's my friend. She doesn't have a fraction of how many followers I have, but I just related to her. I thought she was funny. When we went for coffee and we just bounced off each other our ideas. She had a great idea, I had a great idea, and it was just organic. So that's what I mean, like the energy, exactly. And also I do comedy as well, so it's important that I laugh when we're having a chat. That's what we do as comics. So it has to make, that's what I mean, it has to make sense. I have friends, I've got plenty of friends who are actors and stuff, but they love dramas. They love kind of the action and very serious narratives. I don't write like that. So unless he or her is willing to kind of look at the project like that and be open to it, then that's different. So I tend to collaborate with people who have the comedic eye and stuff, and know kind of when to put a dramatic pause in, and just that kind of stuff. Is the art form of the comedy is what I'm looking for, as opposed to how much followers you have, or if you're an actor or an actress, you need to know how to do comedy. It's slightly different.
And I would add to that, even when I was first kind of speaking to Javan, we didn't speak about film. We got to know each other as men first, and talking, and let me understand where you're at, because I think that's very important. As you said, you've got to be organic. You can't just come in and say, I'm going to make someone else's life story. Anyone can kind of mess that up, but you have to really have a level of respect and love and understanding. I spent some time, we went to go and visit him in Atlanta on set, and spent about a week there, and it's those kind of hidden times that are not seen, which is why the film was amazing, because he understood me and I understood him. You know, and that kind of collaboration is important. You
'Cause I
can't.
guess you can see through anything that's not authentic.
Yeah, 100%. When he first said to me, "I'm gonna make your story into a film," I was like,
Okay.
"All right, bro." And the tipping point for me was when he said, "Okay, write down what happened in the ambulance," and I wrote it down, and then he went away and he wrote the spoken word and he performed it to me. I cried. I had tears in my eyes. I was like, "That's exactly how I felt." And that's not something that you can take lightly, because yes, 1 million people have seen the film, but I know that it was made with the complete kind of purest of energy. Like we did this together. We directed it. We put the long hours in. We put the shifts in, and that to me is more important than, you know, the end result. It was the inside, the actual kind of the work that kind of really brought us together. The love of it, you know, the craft.
Yes.
Adjani, Dreaming Whilst Black. It's
Yes.
brilliant.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Why do you think it did so well?
I feel like because it was bold. I feel like it was because people saw it and felt like, yo, that's me, you know, or that's some part of that is me. And yeah, I think when I was writing, just as a, you know, about a black guy being a filmmaker, what kept coming up just inside was like, yo, this frustration of the industry of this, just because I guess because I'm Jamaican, I guess I never really become black until I came here. So the black experience was new to me. And that was frustrating to me that, yo, now all of a sudden there are boxes or there are limitations because I'm black. And so, yeah, just was like, you know what? Nah, I'm going to tell people about themselves. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to say what I know a lot of people think. And I feel like that is why it resonated, because I made something that said, and people have said, which is some of the biggest compliments, is like, thank you for saying that. You know, thank you for, like, we all know this, but no one says it, or not many people are saying it so publicly. So I think that's, that people, yeah, the authenticity of it. Like I said, I don't know if you, like, there's certain scenes, like, there's a wanking scene in there. It's just, like, it's raw. It's raw in that sense, to say, look, this is people's life experience. And I think that's why it connected.
And why do you think your work connects so well with people?
I think I tend to base a lot of my comedy around my experience growing up with a crazy Nigerian mum. I say crazy lightly, but I think that, yeah, a lot of people can relate to kind of like having a really overprotective mum, whether you're Nigerian or not. I think just people can kind of just identify that mum, and that's who I like to play. And I think also just being female, obviously have quite a large female following. I kind of like just tell my narrative from a female perspective, and I think a lot of girls can kind of like see themselves in my sketches, and also just based on like what other people have told me why they like my content, they just appreciate the kind of effort I put in with putting my videos together. And I think that comes from my love of film, or trying to emulate what I see on film, even if it's down to like shooting flat and grading after, or, you know, doing some sound design or putting some special effects in, like all the things that I like to personally see in films, I try and like put it in my videos so I can practice. So I think those who appreciate film or love that kind of content do tend to kind of like give me that feedback, that we really like the fact that you take time out to do those things. It makes it a nice viewing experience for that 1 minute.
I would agree. When I was watching your the one about the the credit card and the bank transfer app.
Yeah.
First of all, I was chuckling, but secondly, I was thinking the editing and, you know, the final finish. It's like you can just see the effort that's gone into every detail of the video.
Yeah.
Definitely resonates. And Amani, why do you think your film did well?
I just think someone said to me along this journey, it was almost like great bad timing. So it was, no, sorry. Yeah, great bad timing, yeah. He laughed, I thought I got it wrong. But, you know, so many young boys were dying and getting stabbed, and when I first had the idea and we first started talking about it, as bad as it might sound, there wasn't that many young boys being stabbed. And I was thinking, okay, are we going to just kind of come out and almost put a damper on the way the year's gone? And, you know, and then suddenly it was almost like as soon as we said we're going to do the film, it almost accelerated. And again, as I said, it's great bad timing because then there was a need for it. And I think one of the reasons why people really resonated is because that story's never been told like that before. When you listen to the news, you get one perspective of it. You get, you know, killer, hoodie, stabbed this person. You don't really get why and what has happened before that, because I always say, you know, knives don't kill people, mindsets do. And a lot of these young boys are growing in environments that are toxic. And so the way that I was able to tell my story and kind of show from a young boy playing the violin and going to school, getting bullied, then lashing out, being angry, then hanging around with the wrong crowds, these are all things that people can relate to, and then getting stabbed. And at that point, you kind of care about the character. Whereas if you just saw that on the news, you don't care. It's just, it's another statistic, another guy that's just been stabbed. He probably deserved it anyway. And I just think one of the things that's really been great for me is seeing the young people like just reacting to it, reading the comments and saying, because of your story, I don't want to be this bad boy anymore, because I can see that there's no end. I don't want to get stabbed. Or, you know, you speak to someone else and they'll say, that needs to be shown in schools, or that needs to be spoken at. You know, my friends need to see that. And to me, that is what this is all about.
It should be shown in schools.
Yeah, we are. That's the whole point.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's the reason I made the film. So, well, not exactly the reason, but we've made workshops. So we do 6-week workshops. We're going to schools, we're going to prisons, people referral units. And one of the things that I want to do this year is I'm going to extend the storylines of some of the characters. So the guy that stabbed me, I'm going to explain why he stabbed me. Because, yes, okay, I robbed his brother, but what happened in between that? You know, maybe he turned his life around. Maybe he said, actually, I don't want to be that guy. But then, as you said, you know, he hit certain ceilings, and so he's then gone back to the street. What happened to the guy that bullied me in school? There's all these different storylines that you can extend. And exactly, everyone's got their own journey, and we've almost created this universe now that we can extend and tell different stories. And I just want to keep creating, and, you know.
So is that what you're going to do next? Tell the other side? Is that the next film? Did I get an exclusive there that you didn't mean to give me?
No, I'm just.
Is that what's happening next?
For me, I want to be honest, and I'll put it out there just in case, you know, we've got a plug and I don't know who's watching, but I want to create a series. I really want to go deep into what happened after I got stabbed, and, you know, starting a business and the mindset and just dragging myself out of that post-traumatic stress kind of space. But when it comes to the actual short film, there's so many stories that you can create into workshops. So, for example, there's a couple of girls that we show as characters in there. There's stories in there that will speak to young ladies, and you put it in the same similar format, and you're then able to go in and do workshops with young girls about topics that they can relate to. And that's a brilliant opportunity and platform and responsibility, and I would be doing a disservice to the next generation if I didn't do it. So that's the way I see it.
One round of applause for that. I want to talk about your projects and what mistakes you feel you've encountered in your work previously. What have you really learned through mistake, of course?
Myself.
All of you. You can start, Lola.
Make sure your mic's on. You don't want to take your memory card out, put your memory card into your computer and realise there's no sound waves underneath your clips, because you're going to throw yourself out the window.
And you replay it over and over again,
I'm like, no, wait. I'm sorry about it. Clean your ears, just make sure that there's no sound. Check your settings, check there's no sound. So always do a mic check. That was the biggest mistake I learned. And what other mistakes have I made? No, that was it really. To be honest. Yeah.
I'd say get perspectives on your scripts. Get different perspectives on your scripts. So Dreaming Whilst Black was written by myself and a friend of mine, Ali, 2 guys. And they're obviously women characters in the show. Now, when you write, stories, conflict. So you just write conflict, and, he has a girlfriend, conflict. He has his producer as a woman, conflict. And then you look back at the edit and you're like, nearly every scene with the girlfriend character is like some form of either make out or sexualized scene. And then every scene with the producer, she's like super angry. And you're like, ugh, we should have asked someone. So we ended up rewriting the scenes and then like consulting like the girls like, yo, so we're going to reshoot scenes.
Yeah.
What do you think of the scenes that were there? And they're like, yeah, you know, to be honest, I didn't really like it, but I didn't want to say anything. You know, so we spent a lot of money reshooting, a lot of time rewriting and a lot of money reshooting their scenes to make sure that they're represented properly. So I would say that's the biggest mistake, because we didn't want to like be the show that calls out people and then everybody's like, but you're all sexist. You know. So I would say, yeah, definitely get external perspectives, especially if you're writing about someone who isn't your experience.
Yeah, interesting.
What's your thoughts on that, Lola?
I've just finished doing an animation project. It's actually out tonight at 7 o'clock. It's called Degree on YouTube. It's an animation, and I was part of the writing team on that project. Yeah, and I was also doing some voiceover work as well on that project, and it's been written and produced by two guys, Peter Lay and Ross Henson, and they are also comedic writers, but obviously men. And when it came to writing for the women characters in the animation, we tend to bump heads a little bit. They wrote in some jokes that was just a little bit like, okay, guys, but there's other things that girls do and stuff like that. So I think that, again, just being open for people to kind of like critique your work, but from a perspective of, okay, if you want it to be realistic, ask a woman. Don't just assume that we just throw our tampons and just go like that in the toilet, because that's the kind of things that these boys thought that we were doing, and it wasn't. I was like, guys, you know, that's not really funny. That's just weird, you know. So being on that project as a woman, I was able to be the voice for the girls in the animation. So I think that's a good point that you made. Like, if you are writing, especially as a writer, it's good to just give it to someone that you trust. What do you think about this? Or have you got any experiences like this? What do you think? And then I think your project will be a lot better than what it could be.
100%.
Yeah, it's good.
I've got two. So the first one is get the money before you start the project.
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
Very key.
Okay.
So we crowdfunded the whole film, and essentially it was a leap of faith. We had to do it at that time because otherwise Javan would have gone to Atlanta to do Doom Patrol, and once you get into kind of big kind of production schedules, he's not coming back to do a short film this year. So we kind of had to just do it and then kind of go out and pitch. Like, when every event I went to, I was like, yeah, support our GoFundMe. And it was a lot of pressure on top of trying to be creative as well. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, don't book the premiere until the film's done.
Oh.
So
We did that. We 100% did.
So I'm a project man. So kind of in my day-to-day, I've always about projects and timelines and everything. So when we were shooting and kind of writing the film, or shooting the film, we were like, okay, the premiere is going to be this date. And everything, you kind of work towards it. And then the director kind of threw a spanner in the works. And so it's like, okay, we got to move that. And then there was something in the post-production, and then you got to move that. And then before you knew it, we had to cancel the premiere date, and it cost us $2,500. 2 days before the premiere was kind of booked, we had nearly 500 and something people already bought tickets. And because of an editing error that couldn't be fixed in time, we had to cancel it, which then added 2,500 on top.
Wow.
So learning, as I said, for me, it's been a great experience because I definitely won't do it exactly the same way again. But it was important to just note and say, yeah, don't do that.
What piece of advice would you guys give to people who have ideas, but they feel like maybe they're not professional enough to kind of get them off the ground, or they're not quite ready, but it's a strong idea, or that they don't have, the equipment, or how you were saying about, I don't have the MacBook yet. Like, what's your advice for?
My advice is, if you have an idea, be it you're a writer, an actor, an actress and stuff, and you really want to tell your story, there's nothing wrong with starting and using what you have. my earliest videos on my page, like I remember I was holding up my camera with pots and books. Like I didn't have a tripod, you know, I was stacking everything up and stuff like that. And nowadays, like all of us have, or I'm assuming all of us have smartphones. The amount of like videos and content that's being produced on phones now, especially if you want to be in an online space, is out of this world. So I think we all have access to things, and also like be proactive with learning. There's so many like YouTube channels that can teach you how to like shoot something on your iPhone. There's apps you can download and stuff. If at all, and that's if you want to create your own content, or at least give yourself, I don't know, a year to practice. That's how I got into it. I just wanted a year or however long I needed to practice, to throw things out there to see what was safe, what works, and then organically I built an audience around it, and I still am in like a practicing stage. So I would say use what you have. If not, come to events like this. There's like charities and stuff that you can speak to. There's workshops you can go to, collaborate. You know, your mate might have a camera. You might be the person that knows how to write. Hey, you know, you've got a little team together. So, and use your online platforms. It's free. We don't have to pay for YouTube. We don't have to pay for Instagram. We don't have to pay for Facebook to upload. So, like, we have a lot right now.
Two things there. You mentioned about just putting stuff out there. Do you ever go back and delete? No,
I've never deleted any piece of my work, because again, for me, it's all been a journey for me, and the videos that I produce now in comparison to the videos that I produced 3 years ago, 4 years ago, totally different. But I that's the way that I could see my growth. And I'm not ashamed of my grainy footage back in 2014 and my HD quality footage now. And it's important as well, like, for people that connect with my page to see that growth. I don't want to be here saying, oh, everything has to be great in the beginning, because it doesn't. That wasn't my journey, you know. So I think there's nothing wrong with starting from what you have, but then you can try and use your resources to make it the best it can be for what you have.
In terms of practical advice, you mentioned some apps and things there.
Yeah.
What are they?
So you've got like all the Adobe apps as well. Adobe have a lot of editing apps now that you can download on your phone for free. Other than that, you can just type in like video editor on App Store or Android Play Store. Yeah, Play Store. There's so many apps you can download. There's like there's font app that you can put like subtitles and stuff around your videos if you want to go down the whole like meme route. If you like. There's Square Ready that gives you like cinematic bars around your videos if you want it to look a bit more film-like. So there are a number of apps online that you can use to kind of make your content.
And what about yourself in terms of like practical advice and?
Yeah, I would say exploit your resources to the best of your ability. So literally do with what you have, I'd say. So like at first, my first film, because I get where people, you know, you see good content and you know what good content looks like, so you don't want to make shit versions of that. Oh, can I say that? Yeah. But so like our first films, because we didn't have a mic, we used to make silent films. Because then no, you can't tell us that we don't have bad sound, because we're just doing sound design, right? And so, and then when we got a mic, then we start doing like a, you know, but then even our first mic was, you know, the little Rode mic you attach onto the
your
thing?
shotgun mic.
Yeah, so all our dialogue was in close-ups because that mic, I captured the 5D, so you could, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I would say literally just make with what you have, and you won't grow until you do it. The learning is in the making. No matter how much workshop you go, no matter how much book you want to read and study, you don't become a better filmmaker until you make the film. And it won't be what you want it to be at first, and that's cool. Like, this is not my first web series. It's just that no one in England has seen my other terrible ones. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would literally just say use your resources. So Dreaming West Black, like, it was shot in every aunt's house that I have. Like, but when it looks like a big thing, it looks like you have Kwabina's house, you have his girlfriend's house, you have his mom's house, his aunt's house. Every character has a house, and I'm like, nah, that's my friend's house. Yeah. Like, even my flat was 2 different homes. We just shot them
different rooms.
Just to make it look different. So I would say, yeah, use what you have to the max and do it. Actually do it, even if it's terrible. Just do it, because that's the only way you learn.
Yes.
when you can watch back the edit and get external feedback as well. Because sometimes people might do a video and they watch, nah, I don't really like it. Let me just do another, and don't show anybody. You didn't make that film for you. You made it for an audience. So unless an audience can see it, you won't know the feedback. You won't know some things that you think didn't work. Some people might say, yo, no, I actually like that part. Like, so I think that's the only way you're going to learn, is if you keep doing it.
And this is definitely a question for you, because you went from business to producer overnight, and obviously were really successful with it. So what would you say to people?
I guess my key tip is to just be an apprentice, just to, learn. So if it was up to me, the film would probably be 40 minutes. It'd probably have camera shaky bits because I like that scene. And, working with, as I said, masters that know what they're doing. They've done their 10,000 hours. Javan and Percy were just like, look, that's got to get cut. And initially I was like, no, but I like that. I like the way it was done. And then they were just like, no. And now we've got a 17-minute film from when, if I show you the messages, I remember the first message was like, guys, I think we're okay. We can do 40 minutes. I think people will watch it because, it's a great film. And they were just like, no, it's way too long. And I just learned at each stage. Even after I was in Atlanta with Javan, we did the voiceover as well while we were out there. And I thought the film was done. I was ready, it's like, yeah, cool, we got a great version. Jumped on the plane, I'll talk to you when I get back, bro. By the time I landed, he'd sent it to his kind of family circle and his people, and someone had said, don't know. And then because he's a creative, the first thing was like, bro, not happy, not 100%. And I was like, bro, but we just spent a whole week doing this thing. And I wouldn't say we fell out, but it was almost like we clashed heads.
There was tension.
There was tension in that moment, because I'm just like, no, but I'm ready. Like, I'm a project man. No, we've got timelines, we've got deadlines. But what I learned in that moment is that it has to wait. It has to be perfect. And I'm so glad that we took that extra month and a bit to get the film to where it is, because it wouldn't have sat as well as it did. And for me, that was just, that's what I want to do. Just want to be an apprentice. There's so many people I've kind of watched over the years, and now I'm in a space where I get to sit on a panel and I get to have the conversation, because now people look at me as a filmmaker. I just want to be like, well, I'm not 100% a filmmaker, but if you've got anything working, I'll come and I'll learn. And that's where I'm at now. So, just be an apprentice and listen and ask questions.
Can I add to that quickly?
Yeah, of course.
You mentioned something about time, you thought it was 40 minutes and then it got cut down to 17 minutes. I think one of the differences about being an online content creator, once you've been online for a while, you get to understand what platforms work well for different type of pieces of content. And when I first started online, I had as I mentioned before, I had a little mini web series called Good Luck, and that was on YouTube. And as being a consumer of online content, it's good to also understand the front end of things and back ends of things. And the attention span for a lot of people who watch online content, in particularly on social platforms like YouTube, isn't as great as the attention span of someone who's, let's say, watching something like on a streaming place like Netflix, for example. And it's important to understand that if at all you do want to put your content on an online social media platform, to understand the importance of time, because although you may think it's great, it's an hour, this is fantastic, it may not be suited to the type of content, for the type of audience on that platform. Instagram, for example, allows content creators to upload a video for 1 minute. I now know how to write a sketch in 1 minute. I've got to have the punchline in, I've got to have the turning point in, all in 60 seconds. Whereas other people, like say if you weren't on YouTube, you may have your turning point 15 minutes in, and already in comparison to other people, that 15 minutes, that story's over, it's done. So I would say creating content online, so on social media, there is a slightly different thing you have to be aware of, or at least understand that although you may think it's fantastic at an hour, your audience may not necessarily watch the whole thing to the end. So just be mindful of that. I would say 15 to 20 minutes for a short film is fantastic on YouTube, is great. But of course, if you were looking more of a feature film, I wouldn't necessarily put that on YouTube anyway. You try and put it in like in a festival or something. So that's something I've learned as well about online content.
A really important question that I want to kind of ask you quickly before you are also going to have an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. for the guys is funding. So you mentioned crowdfunding, so we've already touched on that. How do you fund your work, Lola?
I luckily, because it's quite small, don't have a budget. Kind of like, I don't need to pay for anything. I've been blessed enough to be able to like collaborate with companies as well. So I've just recently done like a Vapiano campaign. So I think again, like being online, social media, I'm also looked at as some form of person of influence.
Influencer, yeah.
So we could get to like collaborate with brands and stuff. I'm also doing some content with First Bank it's a Nigerian bank as well. So you you can be given budgets and stuff and money to fund your projects. But even if I'm not doing sponsored content, I kind of just like you, like use my mate's house, use my friend's house. I've got my own filming equipment. These are all things I've invested. I've saved up. Like I worked. People don't know I still have a job. So like parts
I
of
was going to ask that because being an online influencer, it takes quite a long time to get to the place where you're actually seeing
some money coming in.
Content,
Exactly.
money coming in, opportunities to make money from your online.
Yeah.
And you've obviously been doing it a way longer time than since you started making money from it. So is it a case of collaborating?
Yeah, I've only started making money, I would say money from like last year, and obviously getting like my content commission and stuff for the BBC, that was also great, that was helpful. But I think that up until that point, I'd have a part-time job, I'd work evenings, part of my salary I'll be like, okay, that's going to buy another memory card for next month, or that's going to buy me a lens and stuff. So I'd really like save up my money because I was so passionate about creating content and using my friends' houses, using my aunt's house, using if I need location, I'll try and scout for it as opposed to like renting out an Airbnb and that's going to cost me like £100. So I've got a good network of supportive people around me that I can have access to various locations if needed. But ultimately I do try and like keep my content either within my house or like one location so that I can just kind of manage that, that's all.
So similar, I shoot within my means. And it's, I guess because I've been to film school, my means has changed in the sense that I went to school with a cinematographer. So I'm just like, yo, brother, like, I have this idea, but I'm not have money. And he's like, all right, cool, let's do this thing. Or I have a pool of actors who I know. And to be honest, there are probably like 5 actors in the whole show. Out of 83 cast members, there are probably 5 actual actors. Like, my friend's mom plays my mom. Her friend plays her brother. Like, you know, everybody, it was just like, find what you have and shoot with what you have. And I write in that vein. It's just that I knew, so even there's a Porsche in the show. I have a friend who has a friend who I've seen with the Porsche. And I kind of knew, like, when I was writing, like, it was like, oh, you know, the guy should have, like, a fancy car. And I was like, yo, I know somebody who knows somebody with a Porsche. So maybe we can get them in there, you know what I mean? But then again, I knew that was available to me. So that's what I did. But outside, we didn't write. I think the most expensive episode was the racetrack. And it's because we had to rent a racetrack. That was it. But we knew that because that episode was like critical to the show, we're like, all right, cool, we spend money upon a racetrack.
That's a brilliant scene as well.
So how did you raise the funds that you did need?
That's savings. So I work, so I'm a freelance editor. So again, and with like small company, we make loads of corporate stuff. So like real estate videos or like how-to videos, or like our returning client is like, we film plastic surgery videos. Oh, yeah, we have, we work with like one of the top plastic surgeons in England. It's mad.
Wow.
Wow. So, but no one ever sees those videos. So we kind of use those.
Money videos.
Money videos.
So like we use those. We save up all of that money. And shot. So like we shot over a year. And that was like 1 weekend a month. So it would be literally like, you know, working our jobs. And then, cool, we have some money. Cool, shoot an episode, bang. And save, shoot. That's how we kind of shot the whole thing.
Wow. So that's incredible.
I was going to add to what you said as well in terms of using kind of spaces, and you said it as well, but just the whole film, there's no one got paid to be in the film. The main costs that we had were for the production company that we use, Little Drops. and then the main actor, the young boy Ellis, is my cousin. We filmed in his mum's house. One of the policemen is an ex-police officer, so he came with the uniform. The school we use is a local school in Enfield. Like, we just literally, because of the theme of the film, it was, guys, we're doing a film about trying to stop young people from dying. Can we use this? And we
I
had...
was going to ask how you got the ambulance.
Oh, we paid for the ambulance.
Yeah, ambulance don't pay.
I know they
pay for the ambulance, and they charge you from the time they drive from the depot to where you're going, waiting on set, and then they charge you on the way back. So, but yeah, we just, even the cinema we did at Cineworld, West India Quay, and we got a major discount because of the fact that we had the BBC and ITV coming down to film it. And it's just kind of leveraging what you've already got. As you say, shooting within your means. Like, we didn't try and make it extravagant. The scene where Javan's in the water at the end of the film, I've got a friend that's got a pool. And I was like, bro, can we use your pool? And it was just literally just asking questions. And as you said, like, when people get behind it, and I think that's the beauty of when we crowdfunded, is that everyone felt like there was a piece of themselves in the film. Yeah. That's why there was so many thanks at the end, because each of these people, you know, little £50 helped us to get petrol from here to there, or to pay this, or someone gave me $2.5 grand, and it's just like, that's a lot of money, but it's, everyone felt like they were just part of this process, and it was just a beautiful thing to be a part of, really.
Do you find that people like to take ownership over stuff if they contribute?
Yeah, no, people will definitely buy into your project if they believe in you. That's the biggest thing. They have to believe in you. And I feel like with Dreaming Once Black, so many people came out because they're like, yo, I believe in what you're doing. I believe in what you're trying to say. Like, our opening scene, we have a whole, like, a long take going through our film studio, and they're like this massive film set. That was like 35 people. All of them were my friends. And this is like 7 a.m. call time on a Sunday in Ealing, Broadway.
Right.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, some people come late. Like, yeah, really people came late, but they came. That was the key thing, is that they came, and I was just like, yo, and some people even brought friends. Like, he's like, yo, I have a brother who just, you know, extra man. I was like, yeah, bro, we need more people. So I think if they believe in what you're doing or what you're trying to do, they will support. Like, you'd be surprised how much people are willing to help you.
And it just felt great to give people opportunity. So all the kids that were in there, none of them have acted before. This is Ellis's first film, and all the kids in the school were the school kids of the school. We said, we're going to film in your school. Can we have some of your students? And it was just amazing, as you said, to people people felt involved, and it just,
it's good. It feels
good.
No, definitely.
Okay, so I'm just going to open up. If anyone's got any questions, please don't be shy, because these guys are here for you to learn stuff from. Just got a question over here. Just ask away.
Hi there. Yeah, I've got a question about starting up online. I think particularly probably, with a web series and with Lola. But it's just when you're trying to build. I think particularly Lola, actually, a question is like, if you're trying to build personality online, how you said kind of, you pour your passion into it, you put all this stuff into it. I imagine at the beginning, especially, it was probably challenging when you put a lot of work into something, and it obviously takes a long time to get traction, and takes a long time before people actually start watching your content. How do you kind of psychologically deal with that process of putting lots of work into content, which for a long time will definitely not surface or be appreciated?
That's a good question. I think a lot of creatives are in that space. They get into that space. I think it's important to just remind yourself why you're doing it as well. Because, like, when you're online, although you may think something's going to go viral, you just don't know. And I think it's unfair to put yourself under that type of pressure, because you can't necessarily control it. You think that you know what people would want, but ultimately, unless you put it out there, you may not know. So let's say you don't. I don't give myself like figures. I don't say, okay, this video is going to get 100K views. I don't do that. I don't, because I don't want to, like, psychologically put myself in that place that if it doesn't reach that, I'll feel like my content wasn't good. So I think it's important to just understand that you're putting it out there. It's practice. It's going to grow. I'm all about positive affirmations and positive energy, but also make use of your friends. Get them to, I don't know, send them the link on WhatsApp and send a broadcast message if anything, or ask people to repost your videos and stuff like that. But don't like be hung up on it if people don't. Like organically, if you've got good content and people like it, they're going to naturally come to it. And the great thing about online content, especially if you don't delete it, as people start to discover you, they'll go back and watch your old content. I still make money from my YouTube channel. I haven't posted on my YouTube for about 2 years, but I use Instagram mainly now. But I'm still getting money from views because people that come to my page go and watch back my old stuff. So it will get that. Eventually, it will grow and grow and grow, and you will see the numbers go up. But in the beginning, I wouldn't. Don't put all like don't judge your content based on how many views you get, because it's not fair on you. You've put in a lot of work, you've written your script, you've got everything together. But of course, I do understand on the flip side that people do kind of gauge their content based on how many views it's got. So just put it out there. Try and promote it as much as you can, and as long as you don't delete it, even in a year's time, people would still watch it as long as they can connect to your content.
Yeah.
Can I ask why you don't upload to YouTube anymore?
I don't upload to YouTube anymore right at this second is because I'm kind of pitching a show at the moment. YouTube is great. I think I got what I wanted to get from YouTube at the time, which is learning how to write slightly longer content. But for me, I find Instagram, because it's 1 minute, I can kind of connect to my audience quicker. And I'd rather make use of bigger platforms like the BBC or other platforms for more long form content where I can get like a budget. Because it's not easy, I'm not going to lie. YouTube is bloody hard. And I just think that if I'm at a stage where doors are opening so I can kind of pitch stuff and have help, as opposed to kind of doing it myself.
Can I just say to you, I said focus on the quality of the content.
Yes.
Because I would say probably of all of us here, I definitely have the least views, I would say. But I think engagement, if somebody likes it, like it's about building your tribe.
Yes.
You understand? So you can buy followers, you can buy views. Like at some point, I'm not gonna lie, at some point we're thinking, Jano, like I wonder if we hit up their money in India to get the views. It's mad. Like, but at the end of the day, the engagement, like for us, I remember we did. So I guess an example of that is we did a uni tour. So again, we did this uni tour with like 5,000 views. You understand? But we just hit up like ACS and be like, yo, this is our trailer, we want to do a talk at your thing. And all of those screenings were rammed, like bare people come. And it was just off. And I was like, yo, how you get so much people? And she's just like, yo, we really love what you're doing. So really make sure, like, we told everybody, come. So we want Bill is like your tribe of people who will ride for your content.
Yes.
And that has to come from quality, because then, like even Amani seeing my thing, I never met Amani. Somebody watched it and was like, yo, but you need to watch this thing. And I would say that's how I got my agent actually, is I went to a small event where there's an actor there and he's like, oh, you're the guy from that thing. I was like, oh yeah, thanks for watching. He's like, yo, I'm meeting an agent next week. I'll tell him about you. And I was like, yo, I'm not really an actor, so I'm not trying to like, do all of that stuff. And it just so happened that agent was a writing agent. So then he was like, oh, I have a friend who did this thing, which I just learned the other day. He actually followed up the week later to say, have you watched Dreaming While It's Black yet? Because he haven't said anything. And he's like, okay, cool, I'll watch it. So it's like, cool, I don't have many views, but some of the people who've watched my stuff have connected it that they're actively trying to help me. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's the key.
That's the key. The important people will see, can watch your piece of content, even if it's 2 minutes, and be like, there's something here. Whether you've got 10,000 views, whether you've got 100 views, the right people will be able to say, yeah, I like this guy. I want to have a conversation. If that's what you want. But if you are someone that wants to stay online, you want to build your YouTube channel, you want to be self-efficient, you want to have your own online on YouTube, then you may have to kind of think of strategies so you can build your community, but that doesn't happen necessarily overnight. So it's all down to what you want. Have we answered your question?
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly what I want. Yeah, it's about that kind of that mentality.
Yeah.
I guess with the way social media is, it's so kind of the algorithm is
Exactly.
there to kind of give you that illusion that if it's not hitting like certain levels,
Yeah.
it's not working. But obviously, now I agree with what you both were saying. I'm just curious to how you dealt with that early on.
Yeah.
It's such a feedback system that can kind of obscure you from your authenticity.
Of course. Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think also it's just also down to perspective as well. Like it's important, especially as if you're a writer, regardless. There can be one view, there could be 100 views. I'm a writer.
Yeah.
I'm a writer, you know? So again, it's just like making sure that you just remind yourself, don't compare yourself to other people. They're doing this, they're doing that. Just stay in your lane, build your tribe. The people that are connected with your content will follow you. They will love your stuff.
And one thing I'd add, I know that I haven't had as much content as you guys have put online, but I would say is be consistent. So I don't care about the fact that I've got 1 million views. It's great, but
What's the next one?
What's the next one? Because for me, it's you can have one clip that goes viral and then you try and like kind of live off the success of that. And that's one of my, like, you know, for me, I was happy with 200. We got 200,000 people watch it in the first night. And I was like, yeah, we done it. Yeah, cool, done. Next thing. Like, as soon as the film went out, I was thinking, what are we going to do next?
Yeah.
That's just how I operate myself. And I think, yes, okay, we got 1.5 million, but
Don't stop there.
I don't stop there. I want to make sure that even if the next thing I get gets 10,000 views,
It's better than your last
it's better
piece of
than
work.
the last piece of work. And it's just being consistent and just continuing to kind of push yourself. And
Got any more questions? Here we go.
Hi, I watch all your content. It's lit.
hey.
It's lit. My question is, so since you don't necessarily gauge everything based on views, what would you say are your tick points for success for your content? So what do you use to judge to say, yes, this was good, this went well, we're moving on to the next thing?
can I answer that first quickly?
Yeah, go on.
So I would say, because of the fact that I've only had one video, I didn't really look at the views. The views were like almost a byproduct of all of that. I was looking at the engagement. I was looking at, the feedback, and I just wanted to hear people say, so what do you think of the story? And for me, what was beautiful about the whole experience is that in the YouTube comments, all of these young people were just like, wow, and it was being shared, and people were emailing me and messaging me and saying, I've just got this sent in the WhatsApp group, and or people that work with young people were like, I just went to show this to a young person and they'd already seen it. And so for me, that was more important because I knew that what we had put out in the world was essentially kind of working, really.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I'd say just seeing people, I guess, react to the content, emojis, laughing, I don't know, the video being shared on another page and I'm being atted on it, or whoever people that connect to my page, seeing them put it on their stories and atting me, those type of things. I'm like, oh, okay, people really enjoy this. Just because you've got a view doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a comment, So it's more those people who actively come out of their way and be like, oh my God, that's so funny. Oh my God, I can relate to that. Then I'm like, I feel like I'm connecting, So I think it's more comments, if anything, than views.
Yeah, I would definitely say that because, and to be honest, like I said, I did this strategically. So we did have a KPI. It was like 100,000 views and get into a broadcaster. Those were the two goals. Right. And as much as we didn't hit our views, we got into a broadcaster. But I would say what I found was interesting is, as you said, the comments. Because when you see a view, I think you need, 10 seconds and is a view?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that, 10 seconds and is a view. But when we started to realize, like, the first episode have, like, 50-odd comments, and I'm looking at other videos who have 100,000 views.
But no comments.
No comments, or, like, 15 comments. Yeah. I'm like, wait. I'm like, nah. It's the engagement, like, that extra step. Because if you send me something now, I can press play on WhatsApp, 15 seconds, that's a view. Yeah. If I go in and like subscribers, that's why now a lot of brands are looking on not necessarily views, your subscribers, your comments, your engagements, and we your insight, and that's what we started learning, that actually that extra step, how many comments are we getting? How many subscribers do we have? That kind of stuff, we realize actually that's a better benchmark.
Yes.
And you also mentioned that your subscribers are mostly female, right?
Yes.
So you can check that from all your social
Yes.
media insights and
Yes.
share that with your brands and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say Instagram is my main platform now, but I've got like a business page on Instagram, so I can see insights and stuff, and it's great because it gives me a pie chart of the percentage of, you know, with female, male, wherever they are in the world, engagement, how many times someone reposted my video and stuff like that. So I gauge that more and be like, okay, this did well, as opposed to just looking at the views. It's not enough. You know, so I'd say that's kind of what I use, or at least have a glimpse over and just be like, okay, that's good. Yeah.
Next question.
Hiya. So I wondered whether you ever, well, you probably have, but like reached like a. Sorry, I'm here. Oh, okay. I see you just staring.
Bright light just up there, so you're sitting right under it.
So like, when it comes to having like a block. How do you deal with that, especially if you're like, you know, wanting to plan like future projects and stuff? How do you like, if you're facing a block, you're like, how do you deal with that?
Is that writer's block, yeah?
Writer's block, predominantly writers, yeah.
That's a good
but
question.
filmmaking.
Do you want to answer?
Yeah, so I generally just write nonsense. Like, that's the only way. No. Let me tell you something. So it's easier to critique than it is to create. That's why you have bare film critics, right? Everybody have opinion on a film. Nobody on a film, right? So what I do, and even myself, like I critique if my friends send me scripts, essay on what's wrong. So, and even on myself. So I think what I do sometimes is if I create a character, like I normally try to base my characters on somebody I know, in general, as like the foundation, and then I'll just add layers of the nuances of that person. But if I get stuck, I'm just like, let me just write something terrible, like knowing that this is bad. And then what you'll find is when you read it the next morning or you read it whenever, you're like, God, this is awful. And you'll know why that's bad. And those corrections will be what you should have written in the first place. So that's generally what I do. Like, I literally just will write bad content just to say it's terrible.
I had a period, I think last year, for about 3 months, I had writer's block. And it was terrible, man. I'm not gonna lie. And honestly speaking, for me, I'm not saying that you should do what I did, but that's just what I did. I took some time offline. I took time out. I took some time offline. I felt like at that time, it was getting to a point where I wasn't reminding myself of why I started. I think I was kind of getting lost in the wave of online content, and I think I had to like do some self-evaluation and be like, Lola, are you starting to kind of base your success on instant gratification? Is there something wrong here? And just for me personally, that made me uncomfortable. So I took about 6 weeks offline. I didn't like post anything and stuff. I used that time to kind of like refocus, go over, like I write journals. That's what I like to do, kind of like previous entries of what I've written, how I felt, what my goals were. And I just had to kind of like align myself again with what it is that I wanted my platform to do. And I also have a mentor. So if you've got anyone around you that you trust that you can speak to, I would recommend that you speak to him or her. I have a mentor. I spoke to him about it. And I also have a friend who's just as bit as crazy as me. And she helps me with ideas sometimes, you know. So whenever I kind of feel like that, I'm like, oh, Cass, you know, I'm feeling a bit, you know, what do you think of this? You think of this idea? And then we kind of just have a chat. And from that chat, I start to laugh. And from that laugh, I get inspired again. So I think you know yourself, or I hope you know yourself when you know you're starting to feel that you're hitting a brick wall. And I think it's, for me personally, I'm not productive if I'm forcing myself to create something in that headspace. I have to kind of take myself out of it, kind of recenter again, and then start writing again. Speak to my mentor, speak to my best friend, watch some films. I like watching films that makes me laugh anyway. I love Matilda. I like children's film, by the way. I like Roald Dahl type of films. That's just me. I like that kind of stuff. So I'd watch that, have some ice cream, relax, get my mind settled again, and then the next day I'm kind of like back to my old self.
Can I add to that? I'm not a writer, but I'd say just in my own kind of personal world, I don't beat myself up about not being creative in that moment.
Yeah.
So as you said, I kind of just sit down and I just like I like FIFA, so I'll just sit there and I just play like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games of FIFA. And by the end of it, And then for me, it's about when like what's the saying? It's almost like catching the momentum. So it's like when that wave comes, just ride it. You know, if you get an idea, it's like, yeah, all right. And then before you know it, you're sitting there and you're just like, and the whole day could have been super unproductive. But then in that hour or 2 hours of time that you've got, you've smashed everything that you wanted to do. So it's just, you know, just
find out what inspires you as well. There are times where I do a bit of like observational comedy as well. So there's times where I just sit in a coffee shop and I just watch people. I'll just sit down and just watch and just see what I can be inspired by. Be it that woman that always comes in and, you know, her purse is at the bottom of her bag and she's like, oh, wait, everybody, and she just picks up her bag. Just stuff like that. Like, that's the type of stuff that how I like to write, and that's how I'm inspired when it comes to thinking of characters to play in my sketches. So, you know, just being out in the world. I don't like writing indoors as well. I have this particular coffee shop that I go to that I can write at. I can't write in my room. I'd sleep. I'll go to bed. So, you know, go to places. If it's take your laptop, get out, walk around, put your headphones in. I don't know, listen to a podcast. I don't know, just something to kind of like get your mind out of that stage. And then when you're ready, no pressure, then get back to the pen and paper.
Yeah. I would add to that about going out as well. My wife is sitting in the front and she always says to me in the day, if you're at home, go out.
Yeah,
don't just sit at home, because you kind of sit down in that state and then kind of look around and you're just in your comfort zone, and then you go out, you get a bit of fresh air, you come back, and then like, even if it's for 5 minutes, just going outside, it just changes your perspective.
Next question. Come to you after, okay?
Hi. So in terms of, because you were speaking about, you know, how you're in different media like Instagram, YouTube, or just short films, what is your opinion on when it comes to like taboo themes? Because obviously it wouldn't work quite well in a sketch because you can't really, you know, speak about those things in like 1 minute time frame. What do you think is nowadays, because of this whole attention span problem, is better to convey a message in a short film, you know, 15, 20 minutes and then it's done, or over a period of episodes of like, say, 5 to 10 minutes?
I'll answer your question from a comedic perspective. A lot of comedians nowadays are kind of like frustrated because everyone's so bloody sensitive, and a lot of our content is kind of based on stereotypes or taking the piss out of people. That's what we do. So sometimes, not everyone, but, you know, a lot of it is funny, like, lighten up. And sometimes, I mentioned before that I did an animation, and I was doing voiceover work for a number of characters that were in that animation. And I do voiceover work. So sometimes I talk like this, you know, like I do different voices. I do accents and stuff like that. I do African accent as well. That's what I do. So there were times where, as a comedian, I kind of felt like, oh, is that going to come across offensive? Or, oh, should I touch on that? How are people going to take things? And it can kind of put you down a little bit, because you're thinking, this is how I express myself, this is who I am, this is my talent. But it can be taboo, or it may not be, it could be a bit sensitive to other people. So I think that I'm mindful of that when I'm creating my content. It's funny sometimes. Luckily, I have an audience who don't just take it and enjoy it. I haven't really had any like negative feedback, like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that, you shouldn't be playing a guy because you're not a guy. It's comedy, so people are open to that false reality of what I'm doing.
I guess they could always click unfollow.
There you go, and that's the beauty. But you know, you get trolls, and you get people that's like, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. So I think ultimately what I'm saying is, if you have a message to tell, as a writer, as a performer, it is your right to tell your message. It may not be everyone's taste. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, but you can be someone else's cup of tea. So it's all about why you want to do it. There's a difference between being offensive openly offensive, and a difference between, well, this is my truth and this is what's happened to me, or this is the reality of the situation. So you have to obviously use your judgment to know what's going to come across as offensive and what is actually like a narrative that's going to be effective for someone. But I've seen quite a few projects that are using 1 minute to tell their story, and it flies off the roof, it goes viral. So I would say, depending on the platform that you want to use, 1 minutes are better. However, if you do want to go into short film, then I would say utilize YouTube.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I'd say you have to understand the story that you're telling and then create a format for that. Because that's what all of this stuff comes from. It comes from stories, right? So when you have your story, like even now, so we're developing a TV show, I've been writing, I think we've gone like 10,000 words in Word. And they were literally just like, we don't know how many episodes yet. Just write your story. And then we find the right format for that story.
Yes.
You understand? And in terms of telling something that's taboo, bro, like, think about the impact. I said, don't think about what you want to do. Think of the impact that you're trying to have on an audience and create from that perspective. And I do think that when you do that, you're more likely, that's when you know you're treading the line properly, when you think about the impact you're trying to have. Like people have argued that Dreaming Was Black does say things that are borderline, you know what I mean? But because we knew what we were trying, because we knew what we wanted to get out to the audience, I think that's what kind of kept us on the line of not being like just offensive for offensive's sake. It's like, there's a point to this, there's a reason to this. Like, we want you to feel this way. And that's what informed all the decisions that we made.
Okay, and we had a question just here.
Yeah, hi. So this is more directed to the guy who ran a crowdfunding campaign, because I have friends who have done them in the past, and they can be really hard to, get enough people involved. So how did you kind of run and promote your one?
So how did I do it? I just did it. Like it's hard to explain. It's all right. Basically, when we first started the project, I also have mentors and people around me that are just, advisors. And one of the ladies was just like, don't do it over August. Everyone's going to be on summer holidays. No one's going to be here. There's no money. And I was just like, yeah, but we have to shoot it now. And if I looked at all the things that weren't going to happen, I'd never do anything. And so I kind of just took a leap of faith and just kind of ran with it. And I guess it's about, as I said before, momentum. It's about just going. So someone I knew Ria Chatterjee from ITV, because he'd done some interviews with her. And so spoke to her, and then she was like, oh, that sounds great. I'll come down and film you, or come on ITV News at 6. We came, did a good interview. Then they were like, oh, actually, we want to come to film you at the school on the Tuesday. And I was like, okay. Did an interview that kind of went viral, and then before you know it, like, they're obviously plugging the fact that we're raising money, and then £100 gets dropped into the GoFundMe, and then you go and do another event, and someone's like, oh, here's £500, and then before you know it, it's just building. And again, it's there's no real strategy. I'm sure there's people that will offer you classes and take your money to tell you about crowdfunding, but it's essentially it's the person behind the crowdfund, it's the story, it's the impact that you plan to have. And I think just because of the fact that, as I said, it was great bad timing, there were so many young boys, dying and getting caught up in youth violence, that people just said, we have to support this. And, for people, that one of the ladies that, or the hospital that we shot at is North Middlesex Hospital in North London, and one of the main doctors there took £2,500 out of her bank account and said, because I believe so much in what you're doing, here you go. And to me, there's no amount of strategy. I sat down with politicians, I sat down with big corporate companies, and like kind of put my heart on the table and said, we need your support. And they were like, well, I'll send you an email, or, we'll get this done, or, give us a couple of weeks, and you never hear back. And it's those that you don't believe are going to support you that support you, because they just get it. And essentially it kind of boils down to you and your character and how much you want it. because we've all got the same 24 hours in a day. And you can always look at the fact that it might be hard, but how much do you want it?
Yeah, I would just say, to add to that, is people buy into either you or what you're selling, because we're buying something, right? And I feel like if you have a part, so somebody like Amani's project tackling youth violence, knife crime, all of that, they're buying into, they're buying into a solution. So they'll buy into that. And then when they meet Amani and meet him personally, they're like, yo, I believe in this dude. They bought into him. I will say, my grad film was crowdfunded. And because my grad film is just about a father-son relationship, it's not so much of a thing to really buy, So we angled our crowdfunding campaign based on me. It's like, I want you to buy into me then. It's like, cool, I'm telling a regular story, but for me, this grad film will do so much. I'm at this stage in my life right now. This grad film could help me get to that stage. So it's what is the sell. I feel like that's critical of what's your sell. And when you find out what that is, you'll know kind of how much money you can try to raise and who you think you can raise it from,
Yeah, and just to add to that as well, this is the second time I've done crowdfunding. The first time was just after I got stabbed, maybe about 3 or 4 years after, and it was my first event back after kind of getting stabbed and leaving the entertainment industry in that way. And I wanted to do an event in the community that empowered young people through music and dance and everything. And because of, as you said, my family knew, they'd seen me kind of give up my dream after getting stabbed and saying I'm not going to do this and going and doing property. They saw the energy. They saw what I was willing to do. They saw that I'd bounce back and kind of drag myself out of that mental state. And they were just like, we want to help you get to this next level. And so it may be something where, as they said, it most likely will be down to you as a person. If you're just saying, I just want to make a film, and you don't really kind of have any, it's just, I don't want to pay for it, so can everyone crowdfund it? People aren't going to support you. But if you're like, I need this because this is what I believe, and you've got a plan, you can't just go to someone and say crowdfund it. You've got to really be serious about what it is that you're putting across. And and then you just hope that and don't be upset if they don't. I had so many people message me, I'm going to put $250 in your account. If I waited, listen, just get on with it. And if they don't put the $250 in, that one person, then find 25 people that give you £10.
Okay, so I think we're coming to an end now. I've run out of time. I just want you guys just to put your hands together and say thank you to our panel. So just a little bit on social media. It's at Your Cinema on social media and hashtag Your Cinema. Please do upload anything that you may have taken in terms of video or images for this evening. I've been your host, Shanie Ryan. Thank you so much for listening to me. And I'm just going to invite Pierre up quickly, who is the man behind Your Cinema. So if you just give him a quick round of applause as well.
Thank you guys for all coming down tonight. Today. Just want to thank God for bringing everyone here, all the speakers, all the team behind it, and my lovely wife who's been so supportive and amazing this week. I just wanted to close it by just giving you guys a bit of information about what Your Cinema is. So we partnered with the BFI on the Future Film Festival because we're a platform for young people and emerging filmmakers. So actors as well, writers. We just want to push amazing content and films and documentaries and things from our culture and our generation because we recognize there's a disconnect and a huge gap between wanting to come into the film and TV industry and actually, making it to broadcasters and all of these amazing organizations. So feel free to talk to us. There are some forms that are about to go around. So just drop your email address on and we'll be in touch with the latest opportunities. We've got loads of funding information, casting calls, opportunities to get involved in some of the short films and projects that we're always making. So we're really here for you. It's called Your Cinema because it's an opportunity for you guys to get your work featured and to have opportunities. So please drop your details and we'll be in touch. But thanks for coming down today.
everyone.
I need to connect with you guys, like follow you guys.